Turn it up. Tim, turn it up. I can't hear it.
Is this a Christmas song?
I think the mixing's so bad on this song. It's so quiet. Have you heard this, Josh?
Yes, I have.
You haven't heard this yet? Oh, Dan, you're missing out. It's the new Atlanta United anthem.
Did someone we know make this?
No.
Okay, good.
I wish I knew him.
All
I
right.
wish I knew
I'm gonna
him.
have to kill that.
That is
Onward we go.
that's like
Flying down the railroad. Oh,
You're blowing my ears out. It is February 12th, 2018, and this is Atlanta United FC Weekly, a Home Before Dark podcast.
Follow Atlanta.
All right, I'll buy it. Yeah, so that is a great theme song by Tweezer76 on YouTube. Some random Swedish guy, which we thought he was Scottish because of some of the other crazy great songs that he made on his channel. But make sure you guys go check that. I fully expect that to catch on in the supporters groups.
Oh, absolutely.
Pre-game. I'm just floored by how good it is. So anyway, I am Tim Herb, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-hosts, Mr. Kevin Bradley to my left.
Yep.
Mr. Dan James also to my left.
Hello.
And we got our friend, also co-host of Mouths of the South, Josh Bagriansky, joining us.
Yeah. It's great to be with you guys. And we get to talk about an actual game tonight.
Yeah.
So it's a new thing and should be fun. Looking forward to talking a little more Atlanta United with you guys.
And we just keep collecting all the Mouths of the South crew and deliberately excluding Eric.
So have you brought everyone on? You brought Kelly and
actually everybody. So it's funny Kevin says that to try and get Eric's goat.
It's really Dan's fault. We keep saying like, should we have Eric back on? And Dan's like, no.
No, but what's funny is I think Eric and Jay are neck and neck for recurring appearances on the show. I think Eric was on with us like 3 times last year. So no, it's been a long time in the making.
Finally you brought the smart one on.
That's right. Yeah,
exactly.
And the most handsome.
Hell, thank you very much, man. I'm loving this. Can I just come on full time? They're not that nice to me when I go with them.
All right, I think we can work some sort of deal out. I can probably. Do you think they would accept Kenwin Jones in a trade?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We probably have his rights by now.
Probably.
I think it's probably fair enough. Anyway, if you guys are,
if not, we could just trade this cup.
Is there a podcast Tam? Like Pam, maybe, or something like that.
Pam podcast allocation money.
Yeah.
I like it.
If you're going to allocate some money to this podcast, stick around to the end of the show. We'll tell you how to.
Oh, nice little tease.
Oh, we're finally monetizing it.
Got him.
No, there is not going to be any advertisements other than our own.
Absolutely not.
Anyway, if you guys are watching on YouTube, thank you for joining us. See some new faces and new names in the chat. One of our best friends in history, Matthew Cody, joining us in the live chat.
Where's he at?
He was like at the top. He told you to plug it in. So,
Matthew Cody.
Oh my God.
So anyway, if you guys are tuning in, thank you. If you guys are not subscribed on YouTube and you want to watch and interact with us, make sure you hit the subscribe button, the little bell. Make sure you get the notification whenever we go live. If you guys are listening to us on iTunes, make sure that you guys subscribe first and foremost. And then if you would be so kind as to leave us a rating and or a review, it helps us get found in the iTunes general search.
That said, we had 5 reviews this week, or 5 ratings this week.
With that, we do read them out on the show no matter what they say.
And Tim successfully got us our first 1-star. So thanks, Tim.
Ooh.
That was great.
Yeah,
please do tell what you've...
I really don't think that it was us alone either. Like, it's crazy. The freaking Orlando
The amount
fans.
of shit that we talked to Orlando fans over the past year hasn't happened. But then, lo and behold, Tim starts firing it up this past week. And moments later, our first 1-star comes through.
But the thing is, those guys are so sensitive about everything. It's like, good Lord.
So it's a 1-star from an Orlando fan.
Yeah, but there's
we assume we don't know.
There's no review. It's fantastic. Fantastic if you guys want to leave a rating, even if it's a 1. Let us know what we're doing wrong. If you guys feel like there's something that we're not contributing, if we're not living up to our billing inside of our description, if we're not
if you think Dan should be replaced.
Yeah, that's true. Josh, listen out for that.
Oh my gosh,
this has been tryouts the past few weeks.
My gosh, it makes sense now.
So
I'm just like Steve Jobs at Apple.
yeah.
Yep.
But we'll bring you back.
The same.
We'll bring you back to right the ship.
Exactly.
But then people will talk so badly of you posthumously. I don't think you want that.
So okay. I've had it most of my life.
It can't be any worse than me doing it.
Yeah, but seriously, if we're not
to my face.
Yeah, exactly.
If we're not playing within our own rules inside the description, I mean, let us know.
Yeah.
I don't think we're punching above our weight. I don't think we try to be anything we're not.
It'd be tough to punch above my weight, but
anyway,
that's
right. That's the reason we feel like it had to come from an Orlando fan. It happened the same day that we got into it. It wasn't even getting into it. It was just like anecdotal stuff. Like, I think good turf feels better on my knees whenever I have tendonitis than shitty. Dude, we played 3A.
Tim, you're wrong. Your opinion's wrong.
We played 3A.
1 star
opinion is
One star opinion.
Did they not even type a review as a?
No, that's the whole point.
They just did a cowardly 1 star.
Exactly.
1 star.
Exactly. So I went back and fired down 1 on every single Orlando podcast I could find. It didn't even have to do with Orlando City. Anything related to Orlando and iTunes, 1 star.
Even the Orlando for Kids.
Fuck 'em.
Oh God! I guess we might have found it. CK is saying, "I earn your damn flag. This isn't checkers. 1 star." Yeah.
Whoa!
I don't. As much as I like to claim to be an adult at 30 years old, I don't own an ironing board. I just throw stuff in the dryer.
You can borrow mine.
Yeah. Anyway,
CK is one to talk about hygiene and ironing things. Did you see that Pope hat at the end of that game Saturday? That thing has seen better days. It might as well have been stuck under a tire and someone peeled out onto it and then threw up on it afterwards.
Well, that was a time to fit in because everyone was pretty disgusting by the end of the game on Saturday, so I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it could have gotten a lot worse. I felt like that grass really held up a lot better than the grass on the field. Anyway, we did get 3. We did get 3 new reviews on iTunes. Yeah, I don't remember who read the last.
1 star, I think we had like 4 or 5 stars kicked back in. Nonetheless, whatever your thoughts are, throw them up on iTunes. And if you leave a review, we'll read them out on the show. Dan read Quaida Whore, I remember specifically.
Quaida Whore.
So Tim can pick up the first one and we'll work it back around to you.
You're quite a whore.
Sure. Comfortable, 5 stars from Matt, a.k.a. Mattianta, but it's stylized to look like it says Matt Lanta with a capital L or capital I in the middle. Makes it look like a lowercase L.
Yeah, I thought that was a radio host.
I was like, is that
the real Matt Lanta?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Matt Chernoff?
That's Chernoff.
Oh.
Anyway, he says,
either way, none the less important. Matty Lanta.
Yeah. So, hey guys, Matt here. While I have known of the podcast for many months, thanks to Jay Riddle and its popularity amongst Atlanta United Twitter, I regret to inform you episode 40 was my first time listening. We're happy to have you.
That's right. We'll take anyone.
I immediately enjoyed the vibe that felt like which was like home. It seemed like a living room chat with college buddies that was very chill and relaxed. I look forward to being a more active listener as I love to hear all sorts of opinions about Atlanta United because I do write articles about the 5 stripes for atlsportshq.com. Like you fellas, I very much appreciate any support I receive from the Atlanta United fan base and its internet presence. Feel free to please follow me on Twitter at Mattianta, Mattianta. And any feedback regarding my work is greatly appreciated, whether it is members of the show or listeners or even HDAD creators. That's you, Joe and Sam. Keep up the good work, Matt.
Cool. Thanks. Sorry, guys, for the stream was bugging out. I think that Dan and I were both streaming at the same time, so that might have been killing the bandwidth a little bit. So next one up is from My Last Nerve, and it says, seriously, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. Just heard someone gave this cast 1 star. Seriously, fuck that guy. Parentheses, or gal. Keep up the great work.
I have the last one. Okay. 5 star from Smooch 1868. The only podcast that can satiate my hunger for great podcast with a layback feel and thoughtful insights. Atlanta United has done an amazing job to pique the interest of many of the South to a game of non-traditionally played in this part of the work. This podcast does a fantastic and entertaining job covering a very exciting club. You are welcome. We try our best. And thank you for your review.
Was peak spelled correctly with a Q or was? Oh wow,
like PK.
5 star for the review then too.
Yeah,
good grammar.
Yeah,
very nice.
I very much appreciate seeing that too.
I'm that guy, by the way.
Well,
I am too.
Yeah.
Do you know of the Twitter bot Sneak Peek?
No, go on.
Peek rather than P, as it should be PEEK, right? I once tweeted something sneak peek PEAK, like a mountain peak, and there's a bot that replied back to me, and it's like it's a mountain peak in burglar clothes that just looks like it's sneaking.
That's pretty amazing, dude. Shout out to Noah Byers, who just showed up in the chat. My favorite Orlando banterer, who actually came up to us in the berm on Saturday and said, "Hey, it's good to meet you, man." So, no, I'm with you too on the grammar stuff. It bugs me really bad at work when people say "flush something out" instead of "flesh it out."
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to. It's like you have an idea
right.
that's a skeleton, and you're supposed to put flesh on it, flesh out the
That's
skeleton.
a common, common error. Yeah.
That and crapshoot, which is another one I never understood. Crapshoot being random, right?
Yeah.
People think of it as being synonymous with shit show.
Oh, I've never heard that one.
Really?
I've never heard anybody use it that way. No.
You're lucky. So
yeah, big weekend this past weekend. We actually have stuff to talk about that's real. It's not just speculation.
I've been making stuff up for like the last 3 months. Just like, well, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. It was good to see them on the field finally. I mean, you guys mentioned the conditions already. That was an interesting game. But I didn't think it was, when it kicked off, I was thinking this might just be a pointless 90 minutes, but I thought it was, considering the conditions, I mean, and that Nashville came out and pressed us and made us play. I thought it ended up being a pretty productive experience, despite being the first preseason
game. I think
game.
that definitely the first half, at least the first 20, 30 minutes, I felt like, this is going to be run of the mill because the starters weren't really firing. Yeah. They weren't really pushing themselves, which I kind of expected.
Well, I also didn't want them to. I mean, the entire time I was cringing, hoping that no one got injured. I mean, those conditions, you hate to see that if anybody had gotten injured in a preseason game, much less the very first preseason game, just because of those conditions.
That'll turn your adductor.
Terrible.
Why do you think we saw Ezekiel Barco come out at halftime?
Yeah,
that's a $15 million investment. You can't.
Yeah, it's obvious. That
look, I mean, I saw him play. He's overrated. I mean, at least that's what Twitter says.
He didn't score a hat trick. I mean, what a waste of money.
Who is this kid?
Yeah, seriously. So to that point, we did see Barco play. I mean, obviously, at least personally, I don't put a whole lot of stock in preseason games in general, at least in the score. I want to see mashups or mashups and different personnel groupings, but the score is kind of irrelevant to me. That said, we did see first starts for Barco and Nagbe this weekend.
Yeah.
Even with the conditions, what were your thoughts?
Nagbe is incredible. And I thought that it was interesting that he went, he'd go like 70 minutes, something. I thought that was could be a bit risky, but I was actually glad to see it because he's going to be the linchpin, I feel like, for this whole team for this season. So it was good to see him have that time to bed down with the guys in this sort of practice, good simulation of a game. Can't wait to see more of it. He's going to be, I hope he doesn't get injured.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's supposed to be, I think you even said it a couple times on Mountains of the South whenever you guys were talking about the Lorenowitz Carmona paradox, who's replacing who.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And whereas Nagbe is more of a replacement for Carmona, I feel like he brings a completely different type of game.
Sure.
Where I felt like Carmona is more of an enforcer, and I felt like his presence was made known in different ways, whereas Nagbe was controlling with the ball at his feet and not necessarily.
Exactly. Carmona controlled via being placed in space appropriately
and breaking
strategically.
Up
and then you saw that lack of footwork being picked up unnecessarily sometimes by players playing it up from the backfield and then being at midfield before the ball would be transitioned.
Absolutely. One of the things I noticed with him, and one of the differences between him and Carmona, is he's a better 1v1 player on the ball. And one, I know we're going to talk about the goals a little bit later, but the assist that he had where he basically carried the ball 20 or 30 yards and then plays Vasquez in for the goal. That's not something you really saw Carmona do. Whether it's an upgrade or not, I think we'll see. But certainly from an attacking standpoint, I mean, to see a guy complete that many passes in that type of weather is unbelievable.
Right. Well, even to that point, I saw him be much more strategic in his defending even than Carmona. I mean, we talk all the time, Carmona slide tackles the world, but he was very aggressive on all of his tackles, which again came with his situational positioning on the field and taking space. Whereas Nagbe almost looked reticent to make some of those challenges, and he was kind of towing the line, waiting for defenders to kind of step up to back him before making
Right.
those challenges, which I appreciated, so that whenever the ball was played off or it did come to his feet, he was at least in space and comfortable enough to then take it forward after.
And I think, excuse me, I think that's going to be his role as the number 8. And when I went back and watched some of his games when he played there for Portland, that was basically what was going on. They had Chara basically sitting in front of the back 4, and Nagbe just kind of harassing in the midfield and not even necessarily making a tackle, getting stuck in, but just forcing the player to go one way. The defense shades that direction and reads the play. So to your point, Kevin, I think absolutely, like, he's not the same player as Carmona in that he's not going to get stuck in, make a bunch of challenges, but we are seeing that he can be effective defensively if he just gets his angles right and everyone behind him can read the game.
Absolutely.
If anything, it was weird because go ahead, Dan. Sorry.
Well, I was thinking his defensive work rate is more that he keeps the ball away from the opposition.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas Carmona was breaking up play and more of a skill set of when the opponent had the ball so he could retrieve it, where Nagbe, I mean, I'd love to see the stats on the game. Our possession rate must have been in the 60s, 70s.
Did they even actually have
I couldn't find stats
any
anywhere.
stats on this.
Yeah, I really couldn't find them at all. But I did get that feeling, Dan, that I was impressed with our passing despite the conditions. Yeah.
No, especially, Nagbe especially, it seemed like he got comfortable later in the game too, especially whenever you're talking about going into the pond at the other end of the field and waiting that pass well enough to Vasquez to put him perfectly on right in front of him. All Vasquez has to do is just loop it over the... Have you ever seen like a weirder looping shot?
I don't know if he meant that or not.
I don't think so either.
Nice.
Yeah, it definitely did. And I don't know. It's not often you see a guy chip the keeper so low and for it to hit in front of the line. But I thought, well, actually, I saw one comment from CK Lopez from Terminus Legion saying Nagbe is tact and grace. He was able to play his game because he's not expected to score, but that allows him the space and time to do so at the correct times. And you saw what they're going to be able to do whenever they're playing those short corners. Being able to play Nagbe into space, get him wide open in front of the box and have him volley. One of those is going to go in one of these days, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, at Portland, I felt like he had a lot more pressure on him. Like he was kind of looked at the guy to be, okay, we need you to carry the team and we need you to score goals. So it was him and Valeri, and I don't think they really had anyone who was that goal scorer was that guy.
Fernando Adi, for a little bit, at least half of the season, he was one of the best strikers in
exactly, but
in MLS.
You know, that's half of the...
That's true, but I think part of that had to do with Nagbe. That's the go. Sorry, I was going to jump in with something else.
Well, that's kind of the point. So Nagbe doesn't have as much pressure on him as he did at Portland, I feel. So he can kind of play his game a little bit more that suits him a little better. You know, at Portland, sometimes they would throw him out on the wing, and that is not his strong suit. His strong suit is marshalling the game from behind the 10 to be able to slot on those crosses, build that link-up play, and get the ball into attack.
But the thing that Atlanta United positioned themselves to do in order to free up that space for Nagbe is they're so weighted on the front end. Even, I mean...
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we are.
Gressel was a little disappointing for me this past week. Again, I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock, good or bad, this past week, but the right side just felt really weak. All of the forward momentum seemed to be played from the left side. We saw a lot of well-timed passing and dribbling runs made by Barco or Nagbe in the midfield and distributing out. But yeah, I mean, because the front line is weighted so heavily with talented players from Martinez to Almiron to Barco to Villalba when he's in, it's naturally going to free up the midfield because defenders are having to double team these guys up front and keep an awareness on Martinez, who's chomping at the bit to make that fast break. It's going to free up that space. And I feel great that we finally have this complexity to the team that was kind of lacking last year, where we had Almiron, who looked really comfortable with the ball at his feet. Assad in moments seemed comfortable with the ball at his feet, particularly more so, in my opinion, whenever Garza was there backing him up and they had some of the 1-2 play. But this past weekend between Almiron and Barco and Nagbe, I mean, I felt like we had three solid players who were constantly making runs and making defenders double and triple think which runs they were going to make, particularly with Barco, where he was pulling, or all the defenders were shifting to the left side thinking he was going to play to the line, and he pulls it back in towards the center and then frees up the center of the box as a result of that. Like that kind of awareness and space and comfort with the ball at their feet is really exciting.
It's huge. And I think a good point you guys bring up is that Darlington Nagbe, having that space, fits into a role that he's more comfortable with than he was in Portland. And Dan, you kind of brought up how he was relied on so much for attacking presence. And Fernando Adi did have a good season, but I think Valeri contributed to like 2/3 of the goals or 3/4 of the goals.
He scored 18 something like that from a midfield position. That's pretty crazy,
so they were really relying on
in the
him.
West. I mean, I could have done that.
Getting on the West, but for now, they really were relying on Nagbe in and around the box to create end product, and he's more of a, like you said, Dan, pull the strings guy from the center midfield. And I think one of the things that he fits in place of Carmona is at times last year I thought we'd have a lot of possession, but it would get stale at times because Carmona is kind of more of a natural 6 center defensive mid.
Right.
So when he would receive the ball where Nagbe would receive it now, his natural instinct was to play conservative, play it back, whereas Nagbe gets it and he wants to drive forward.
Right.
So I think that it's
it's
attacking replacement.
Well, then you also
up the center of the field. Like normally you would see the pass charts and we'd be all the way around.
Right.
This time we've got a lot more strength in the midfield between Nagbe and frickin' Almiron.
right.
And
Barco, man.
And Tito's not even out
he's
there.
going to be more
I
on the
know,
left, but in
but
the
still,
center of the
absolutely.
field. Yeah.
But it also lets players play their natural their positions as they should be too. Because of that, you didn't see. I mean, we had this conversation last year where some of my frustrations with LGP was he was getting in positions to take the steps forward that Carmona wasn't or Lorenowitz wasn't, and then he was overstretching and moving a little too far forward, in my opinion. And then you're left defenseless in some ways, and somebody has to fill in. Because of those players playing their position, it allows him to do the same. So,
yeah, I think one of the things to point out is what you were saying, his role or his responsibility, the burden that was placed on him in Portland was to be the guy. And here, like you guys were saying, it's not to be the guy. Really, all they're asking him to do, take some of the pressure off Almiron.
Yeah.
And you saw that. Whenever he touched the ball, Almiron, what does he do? He bolts out left. And then he and Barco have interweaving play. And then you really didn't even see Garza get that involved in the attack.
No, you didn't. That's a good point. I didn't think of that.
And you know what? I don't mind that because you think about he's getting older. He's still only, 26, 27? Greg Garza?
Even a lot of wear and tear on him, though. I'm not,
So that's what I'm saying is knowing his propensity to have hip injuries. And I think last year, he had was it an ankle? What caused him to miss the
hamstring?
It was a hamstring.
I thought it was the hamstring.
Yeah. But both of those usually being overexertion injuries, right? So they're fatigue injuries. And if you see him not having, last year, whenever he was playing, he was up and down. He was byline to byline and just never stopped. I mean, he's just such a tireless work ethic. And if he has the ability to hang back a little bit, select whenever he's going forward and give a little bit more defensive coverage, especially whenever I love Jeff Lorenowitz, but I don't think he's a natural one-to-one center back. And obviously Michael Parkhurst didn't play on Saturday. And that's the reason you saw Lorenowitz back there. But I think I really like the fact that Garza is going to be able to hang back a little bit because you saw that interweaving play between the three of them, between Nagbe, Barco, and Almiron. It's stellar.
Yeah.
And I didn't really get that mad that Justin Martinez was offside the entire game yet again. He's not as fast as Aguero. He can't do that every single game.
Well, I mean, kind of to that point, the way the offense clicks with him making those runs, Matt Weinecker? I thought it was Weinbacker for some reason. Weinecker? Is it Weinecker?
It's Weinecker.
Weinecker. Anyway, makes a good point about what some of the teams were able to do last year to break down Atlanta United was just to bunker and let them tire themselves out. Whenever you have these dribbling players, they're allowed to kind of break that up in the mid or on the wing. So Barco will help address some of those concerns this year, which is great.
So we'll get to Barco in just a second. I think Jay Riddle, I can't tell if he's being sarcastic or not because it's hard to tell.
Always hard to tell.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. He said Mikey Ambrose looks solid at center back.
Wait, he said something other than hashtag free smoke? That's the first time he said anything other than that in like a week.
Yeah. So whenever we switched to that back three, it was definitely noticeable because we became a little more like Swiss cheese.
Yeah.
I mean, and it wasn't Miles Robinson. It was Lorenowitz, right? That let that ball in. Or missed a tackle.
On the Nashville goal.
Yeah.
And it looked like him and Zizzo had a miscommunication. I mean, with the three, for the most part, I thought it was just interesting that he went to 3 on purpose, because last year it was a 4-2-3-1 that became a back 3 when we were in control. But you saw right when they came out in the second half, formation was a back 3. So that might be a sign of things to come. But it seemed like the goal came from miscommunication between Zizzo and Laurentowicz.
Yeah.
And I don't see those two in a back 3 together.
No, God, no. Because if you see a back 3, it's most likely going to be Parkhurst, LGP, and Escobar.
And Escobar,
right? That's definitely going to be your back 3, and you're going to have Laurentowicz maybe in front of them, or Nagbe playing a little deeper, and Almiron in front of him. But let's get to the star of the show, what everybody was waiting for.
Oliver Shannon.
Yeah, not quite.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
The young guy, he's even smaller in person, man. Seeing Barco, it does look like, I don't know, maybe it's just perception, just watching him like in a recessed view on TV, that he looks a little bulkier in person.
I was going to say that he has like a bullish look to him, and he doesn't look physically, he's small, but he doesn't look physically outmatched. And I noticed that when he played him for Independiente as well, that he's compact and he's tough to bring down. So yeah, 5'4" maybe, but I wouldn't call him small per se. Just short.
Kind of like I would say Pedro, but he is a little easy to bring down if you've watched him play. Anyway, but same kind of build.
Almost like a Gary Medel type, like it was a center mid, but like a little tiny, like.
But when he needs to muscle on, he can muscle on.
No, and I agree with you, Tim. Like when I saw him, I immediately noticed that he was a little bit bigger
from a strength
standpoint than I expected.
He's like, look, motherfucker, I'm not that small. Like and his low center of gravity. He seemed to stay on his feet most of the game or most of the half whenever he was playing. Brian Diefenbach immediately to our point, our buddy who we saw up in Nashville, saying that he doesn't shy away from the contact, which is good because he likes to get in to close quarters to try and get around people.
Right.
He doesn't rely on his speed just to dick people, get around them. He can
or split them. I mean, I saw him split defenders multiple times. By using that awareness of where those angles are as defenders are closing to just split straight through.
Well, that one time he was coming in on the left and he was dribbling around about 3 or 4 different defenders, and then he just threw the ball out to his right-hand side, completely in the opposite flow of the defenders. Everyone was called out. And I think it was like Nagbe ended up destroying the post on that.
Yeah, that was the one. That was the play I was talking about earlier, that everybody, all the defenders and everybody, even us, were expecting him to shift left for the line play to Garza. Almiron was actually cutting the out route on that play, and then he cuts it to the right, and then plays it off to Nagbe right on the right post.
Another play I really remember is we talked about Garza not getting forward much, but the one time he did was an absolutely lovely through ball from Barco to play him into the byline, and Joseph just arrived a little bit late.
Right.
One of the things I've mentioned this quite a few times, but I'm so impressed with Barco's passing. You know, when you see a young, talented winger like that, you kind of expect speed, pace, 1v1 ability, but he has the hard part down already. Yeah. Like he can play a beautiful. I mean, that was an inch perfect through ball to Garza, and as you mentioned, when you're talking about defenders shading that way, 2-3 guys looking at him, it's easy to dink a little ball in behind, and we're going to create so many opportunities from that.
Especially whenever you catch them off pace like they were. I mean, they can't just stop on a dime and then play back the angle. Kelly has a good note. Best tackle against Barco was the ref. We saw the ref getting away multiple times this weekend.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if there's one thing that Barco has in this team is options too. I mean, to pass off, he has through threats. He has people bombing runs from the midfield. He has the ability to overlap with Garza.
And that's almost similar to the kind of Nagbe angle we're saying, where he has guys around him so he can transition in early and feel comfortable. And while he's just kind of getting the hang of things, he can focus on just distributing to other guys who can do the job.
Yeah. Did you guys notice? It doesn't seem like his teammates are going to give him much slack. Miguel was yelling at him to get into position.
That's what he needs.
That's what he's here on this team for,
and that's what Miguel needs to do.
Absolutely,
tough love. I love it, man. That shows leadership from Almiron. He's not just a smiling face. Happy late birthday, to our number 10.
If anything, I mean, that just obviously we don't want to see Almiron leave, but. Hell, if he's playing that role for Barco in such a pivotal year, it's like if he's going to go, at least let it be after this year so that he can kind of cement that mentorship for him to naturally transition into that role next year, so that you start to build some sort of progression and depth within the starting lineup.
Did you listen to Michael Parker's interview with the guys at 92.9 before the game? So Parkhurst was saying that Barco, you know, he's new. He doesn't speak much English at all. He kind of keeps to himself. He's a little quiet, but he's bedding in pretty well with the Latino lads. But so I was kind of like worried, like, oh, is he not like making? Is the team not making friends?
You're such a dad, Dan.
I know, but because he's a young kid, but to have that sort of role model in Almiron, like you were saying, that's really going to help him develop at the club and help him
definitely
be comfortable at the club, because it's, you know, I feel that's so imperative in a player. Like, you know, I always think of like Di Maria at Man United. He hated it there, so and therefore his play really.
Does anybody
suffered.
like it there?
I mean, most people.
I mean, since
it's usually Liverpool supporters who say it.
No, I was going to say I can think of 4 players off the top of my head who love being at Old Trafford: Paul Scholes,
Right,
Ryan Giggs, Chris Smalling, and Phil Jones, for the same reason that they can't believe they keep getting put onto the field time and time again. Right? They found a starting job where they're making an inordinate amount of money and letting Nemanja Matic just play defense for them.
Yeah, but that was under Alex Ferguson.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So who was the most winning coach in the world?
Yeah. Well, it helps when you get 7 minutes of stoppage time every game.
That's what you got to do.
Fergie time.
Fuck menu.
Yeah, exactly. I'm right there with you.
I love that I can curse, by the way. I feel like completely unrestrained. You know, that was my first F-bomb. I'll try to keep it.
I was gonna
cool,
say,
but
unlike your counterpart
Josh.
Kelly, as soon as she found out, it was unleashed.
Oh my God.
Unleashed the hounds on that one.
I had to. My
Yeah,
kids were listening to that. I had to turn it down.
Just did not waste any time.
Jay says his wife didn't recognize me. Like he said, Tom, that's my dad, Jay. That's not me. Didn't recognize me without the excessive big league chewing. So yeah.
Tim had a wad.
It's my trademark. I mean, I chew my nails, so I try not to. And Angie's mom got me a big case of Big League Chew for Christmas in my stocking, and I chew it like it's chaw. So
Right.
I pack it.
I've never seen like a jumbo version of that. I've just seen like the regular size bag in the gas station.
Yeah, so the gas station, you know how they're displayed.
Yeah.
Like it's in that big cardboard tray so that you pull it out. Yeah, he's just got the big cardboard tray with 50 packs of it.
Hey man, I still haven't pulled the trigger, but last time I went to Dick's Sporting Goods, they have a bucket version. So like, you know, the $2 ice cream that Kroger sells, the Kroger brand $2 tub of ice cream. They have that, but with Big League Chew in it.
What?
Yes. Oh yeah. It's gonna happen next. Whenever I run out of that, I'm gonna go to Dick's and I'm just gonna get the bucket.
It's like the half gallon that's got the strap on it. So do you just like put that around your neck like a horse trough, and you just kind of?
It's more like my cowbell.
Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I think you definitely do that. Could be your signature move.
All right. So
That's funny, Tim. I suffer from the same defect myself, but I've tried the gross tasting nail polish.
I have it on right now. It helps.
Yeah, it does help.
You should taste it.
I've tasted it.
Tim,
It's fucking
taste
awful.
it. Put your fingers in Dan's mouth.
This episode.
Can we turn the camera off?
After dark.
After dark. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Mavala Stop to help you stop biting your nails. You can't take it on airplanes because it's flammable.
Good God.
So, other things
Second
from this
half.
game.
Let's go second half, because second half was.
Is there anything else from this
we
first
talked
half?
about everybody. I mean, we talked about the main starting lineup plays in the first half. I think the second half is where things really got interesting. That's where all the goals were scored. That's where we saw all the substitutions.
Those were the players we wanted to see.
Exactly.
I mean, apart from Barco and Nagbe. But
Well, what do you make of some of the other people that were in the first half, though? Let's Gressel. Obvious rust. He looked very sloppy.
And that wasn't really a game for him because he's not a guy that's really, even on a good pitch, known for completing a ton of passes. True. And so in our style, with that type of conditions, it's just really tough on him.
Right.
But
he also just didn't. I mean, again, it comes back to the strengths of Garza playing the ball up the left side. We didn't really see a lot of that out of Zizzo on the right side.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw that a lot out of Walks, who was constantly making those runs. Maybe Escobar makes that a little bit more feasible. Whether it was the weather or whatever it may have been, there just wasn't a lot of showing out of Gressel to write home.
And it's the first time those two guys are together on the same side. So I'm not putting much stock into it either.
Same.
But he struggled.
I thought Zizzo was pretty solid. I thought that he was. I think he's this year's version of Mark Bloom, and hopefully he stays healthy. I think he's all right.
I saw he had a little bit of foot skills. Being able to keep the ball to himself away from defenders but it wasn't.
He's essentially a wing back.
Yeah,
he can get forward and he'll be fun to watch. I think
it'll be interesting
providing an extra.
That's what we need.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I mean, one thing with Walks last year, although he was fantastic, and I think Escobar we will probably be the right back to start.
I agree.
But one thing we missed last year, I thought, and Blue maybe to an extent, was like a Garza on the right. There wasn't
absolutely.
Walks was more of a center half / right back, so he got forward, but he's not a super creative player. Tyrone Mears.
Well, the other thing was like it was just almost there. We made incremental made incremental steps towards getting to Garza, and towards the end of the season, we were getting so close where Walks' touch and assist and playmaking ability was starting to get there. So I'm hoping that we're not starting completely from scratch this year. And I don't expect us to, but you're absolutely right. That was kind of what we were waiting for all last season. And we started to get that towards the end, and you started to see where defenders were having to shift and play the left side and the right side equally to second guess that playmaking ability.
So
we start the second half. Can comes in. So should we debate who should start, Can or
Can let a goal in? So we should probably trade him.
Who was saying was it on some sort of roster announcement online or something like that? Or maybe it was the broadcast. They were saying it was Hildebrandt, not.
Oh, really?
Not Alec Can.
Oh, right. Well, they didn't even know who Tata was, so I can't blame him.
And can I say too, being in the supporter section, how many people called him Khan? Still, after
that's still a thing.
Yeah,
can they not read letters on a piece of paper?
Yeah. This isn't William Shatner's Star Trek.
Yeah, I was thinking it has to be a Star Trek thing that this is continuing.
No, there was one person that was making a Khan reference to Wrath of Khan, but
that's okay.
So we had two substitutions at the half, right? We saw Guzan come off, Can come in, and then we saw Barco come off, and
that was when we went to the 3-back right after the second half.
They came right out in back three.
Yep. That was whenever Kratz went in.
Yeah. Kevin Kratz came in for Barco.
Right.
And I thought Kratz was okay. He was kind of
seemed odd seeing because they kind of like pulled Kratz in towards the mid and they pushed Garza up on the wing, best I could tell. That seemed odd to have Garza playing that far forward.
Yeah, when you go back three, those wingers have so much, quote unquote wingers have so much space to bomb forward. Certainly that was the case with him.
Well, McCann shifted back to the left back at that point.
Yeah, McCann came back.
That's really the role he's probably gonna.
He did not look very comfortable alongside Nagbe in the first half. That's something that we did not really touch on.
I think he's kind of, I don't think he's familiar to this type of playing style. He's kind of older, used to like 4-4-2. McCann.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot more speed that we have here.
He's Irish.
I think.
Played at Wigan. Yeah, right. Not a creative bone in his body.
He's not a keen.
Right. Not a creative.
He's really hardworking, though.
Hardworking, gets stuck in,
Yeah, everyone saw him. He did great on the filling in for Gaza and towards the end of last season. So that was interesting. I tried my best, but keeping up with all the substitutions with who they were going out for was just insane.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I started
they came in droves, man. It was we
great.
had a handle on it, and then it seemed like the 80th minute they were just sending in 4-party substitutions every 5 minutes.
Drawing little freaking arrows and bits of wool tied around pins. I was like,
so the big combo that everybody wanted to see, we got glimpses of with Carlton and Gosselin coming in.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Romario Williams and Brandon Vasquez. I thought that was the 2 forward pairing that I've been waiting for my entire life.
But your entire life,
I hadn't been. I had not.
Vasquez probably would have gotten a red card if the ref threw any cards that game.
Did you save that video?
What?
Of me celebrating Vasquez's goal?
Yeah.
Okay, great. What were you going to say, Dan? Sorry, Kevin interrupted over you.
Oh, I hadn't.
Typical.
I hadn't paid much attention to Goslin's previous exploits, but God, that kid is fan-freaking-tastic. He is Nagbe in like 5 years.
Yeah.
No, I think he's light years ahead of Nagbe in 5 years.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I think so.
I think that if there's one thing we can take from this match in terms of actual playing time when the season begins, it's that if there's not another center mid signed, Gosselin might be the guy to spell Jeff Laurentowicz or the guy to come off the bench and solidify the center of midfield.
No.
Shut your mouth.
Or is it going to be McCann?
No. It's Oliver Shannon. I've sat quiet long enough, Tim.
Oliver Shannon's
I forgot all about
right on time. Our buddy Jimmy Vance saying, "Did I miss the Oliver Shannon?"
No. So Oliver Shannon came in.
Are we going to talk about that?
Why do I have to wait any longer?
Wasn't he like one of the last substitutions, or?
And did he falter at all in that
Well,
substitution?
he only had like 10 minutes.
of greatness.
It's a preseason game.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'm just saying, Kevin, we don't know what his floor could be. We could have just seen his ceiling.
You're about to see the floor, Dan.
It's almost as if it's easier to say who didn't end up getting subbed in. We didn't see Kunga and we didn't see Bello. Were those?
Those are the two that I don't remember. Yeah.
I
thought we'd have
to see
seen
Bello.
Kunga. I wasn't sure we would. I thought there was more of a chance we'd have seen.
Because
Kunga.
Bello's still 17.
Yeah, but he hasn't signed. Has he signed a USL contract, Bello?
No, I don't think so.
But Kunga signed a contract last year.
He's an MLS player. Yes,
Right.
He's one of our homegrown players.
Right.
Bello, you're right. I don't think. Wait, is Bello
he's-
one of the 5 homegrowns?
Yeah, he's one of the homegrowns.
Okay, then he signed a contract. Then he signed an MLS contract at that point, right? To be considered a homegrown player because you don't see Garces and you don't see the other guys. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
He
so
did?
they
Okay.
had Bello, Kunga, and Okonkwo became homegrown players on the January 1st of this year.
Okay.
Thank you, Josh.
I knew that off the top of my head. I didn't Google it. I totally didn't just Google that and say that.
That's good.
So
I actually Googled it.
Can't confirm.
second half, Chris Gosselin was probably the standout of the half.
Oh, absolutely. Him and Williams to me, because I hadn't seen Williams play at all apart in the Gold Cup, but he's 23 years old. He can move just like the rest of the team, and he's got strength to hold off other players. Loved it. He's like another man's Vasquez.
Yeah, he's
not as pretty as Vasquez.
No, nobody is though.
But
Well, the other thing that was nice to see was just as those substitutions started pouring, you saw all those players, just like we saw last year in the Open Cup. Whenever those start happening, and those players that don't typically see playtime, and why I'm also excited for Atlanta United too, is they played with a pace and a sort of hunger that you weren't seeing out of the starting lineup for whatever reason, whether it was it's a preseason game, they were getting their footing. It felt like and the players that we've talked about actually tonight were the players that were starting for the first time. We saw a lot of that drive from Nagbe and Barco, and you saw that from every one of those substitutions that came in the second half, aside from Can, oddly, he just seemed kind of out of sorts to me. I understand it.
Yeah, no.
But yeah.
It is cool to see young players, new players come off the bench, first time ever playing for Atlanta United, and they seem to understand the style and pace that we need to play at right away.
Yeah, and they make
right
an
away.
Impact.
It really speaks, I think, to Tata and the imprint he's had in the organization, that you can have guys like Gosselin, Carlton, Kunga and Bello didn't get on, but guys like that who have pretty much never played for the first team, and they come on in a kind of strange conditions, things like that, and they fit right in from the structure and systemic standpoint. So I think it really shows that, and you'll see that with Atlanta United too. I think you'll see them play at the same pace as we see with the first team, and so it'll be easy to integrate these players in when they're ready.
We got Jay Huthersall in the chat with the nice call out. Didn't see Gallagher or Wild. I don't think I saw.
Why would you need to? Whenever of the three,
I didn't see Wild actually dressed.
Of the 3 picks, the best was clearly played.
The most ready absolutely was played, and we will get to that in just a second, Kevin.
Oh my God,
Tim, do you want to give your Vasquez or Williams prediction choice?
You say or? No, seriously, I don't think that's the right conjunction to use.
Because Vasquez can play wide?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I think that Vasquez, to me, the way that Gressel looked, I don't think Gressel should be so confident if Tito's out that he fits in that role.
Ooh, that's a really, really good point.
In the way we saw shades of greatness that from Vasquez last year, that I guess we did see some of that from Gressel. Don't get me wrong, Gressel deserved to get that Rookie of the Year. He was fantastic for us. He fit into the system. He played his ass off. But I think Vasquez, the ceiling, His ceiling's much higher than Gressel's.
Again, and that's the benefit of having Atlanta United too, where Gressel more than likely will be on the bench, whereas Vasquez will more than likely be playing week in and week out with Atlanta United too. So with Vasquez getting that play time and still staying warm, so to speak, he's got a little bit more of a resume if and when we do need to substitute Villalba out. So
again, we're absolutely spoiled with choices. So if we're talking forward, we're talking straightforward. But number 9, I think I'd take Romario Williams over Vasquez right now.
Right.
I think Vasquez isn't as polished up front as Romario, and I don't think that he's going to be making as intelligent of. I mean, Romario Williams' awareness, I think, was the biggest thing to point out on Saturday. He was in the right position almost at every single point the ball was near him. That's how he scored that goal, right? I mean, it's a garbage pickup goal, but somebody has to be there to score it. I mean,
exactly, yeah.
Ruud van Nistelrooy scored how many of those? Probably 95% of his goals were those, right? So it's awareness, but Vasquez isn't there yet. But I think that he has, again, we talk about it constantly about his imposing presence playing on the wing. I think that you see that, and he's got long legs.
Absolutely.
He gains ground pretty quickly. And somebody had pointed out in the chat, I can't remember who it was, but if you stick him on the left side, on the right side, opposite of Barco, having Barco being able to cut in and loft a cross in there for somebody as big as him in the box.
Yeah.
I mean, even for Joseph, though, Joseph gets up higher probably than Vasquez does. I mean, that guy's
probably
he's got crazy ups.
Jay does tend to poke some holes in this. That Vasquez had the benefit of the dry side of the second half. Gressel struggled, sure, but it is preseason. I mean, again, back to what we were saying. I'm not ready to dole out a starting position based on that game for anybody. I mean,
no.
But you do raise some good points that I don't think he should have been cemented into a absolutely sure role of starting over Villalba last year. Vasquez comes in and he doesn't have that game with that wild red card. I think he still cements himself as a competitor for that position last year. So
right, we're not talking about starting positions though, because all signs point to Tito Villalba being on the right side again.
I don't know. I'm still thinking Vasquez is still in USL right now at the start.
There's no way I don't see it, because you already have 2 forwards. How many forwards have they signed on USL contracts? I think we have something like 8 players so far, I believe. I think I've seen 2 4-player announcements. I haven't been keeping up. It's hard enough to keep up with the Atlanta
Gressel
United.
was also Rookie of the Year, which is a really, really good point.
I pointed that out. That he deserved every bit of that award. I'm saying that Vasquez has a higher ceiling at the right wing position than Gressel.
Well, he's what, 5 years younger?
Yes.
I mean, that's a big part of it. Gressel was we love Gressel, but he kind of is what he is. I mean,
absolutely,
yes, he was a rookie, but he looked like a seasoned professional last year. I don't see him improving a ton.
Yeah.
Vasquez is a guy with a high ceiling.
Yes,
like you said.
but to that point, you don't award positions based off of a potential ceiling.
Especially if you're competing for...
Exactly. If he's competing and relevant to the skill level that Gressel's producing week in and week out, okay, we'll have that conversation. But just awarding him that over Gressel because of his potential being higher, I don't agree with that.
100%.
Yeah.
And these are the types of conversations, maybe a week or so from now, after we've seen the games and matches in Charleston, we'll have a better idea of what Tata's thinking, who's competing for these positions, and whether what we're talking about is actually something that he's thinking, or he just sees it as a preseason game and then the guy's getting minutes and not putting much stock into it.
Kelly in the chat is like, no, Vasquez is not USL. I think so.
He looked
the reason why
he
I
looked
think
an MLS player last.
I agree with you, Tim. Yeah,
could be USL is because he's going to be behind. Right now, he's behind Tito and Gressel for the right wing, and then he's behind Joseph and he's behind Williams for forward. Therefore, he's going to sit on the bench potentially for most of the season. That is not doing his development any good. He needs to be playing week in and week out.
Well, how often are we going to see? I'm interested to see how the substitutions are handled this year, because you have a Swiss Army knife.
Do you really expect Tata to change his approach? No, I don't expect that to happen
I don't
either.
mean that. I mean in what positions get subbed, because you have a Swiss Army knife in Gressel. That's the one thing when you're talking about Vasquez and Gressel is versatility, whereas Romario Williams is most likely going to be coming in one position and one position only. You can maybe see him coming in on the wing, but you're going to see Vasquez either on the wing or up front. You're going to see Gressel in any of the front 4 positions.
Right. But
maybe not striker.
He hasn't proved himself yet, though.
Who, Vasquez?
No. He hasn't proved himself as much as Gressel has.
So at what points in his, I think it was 11 games he played last year, as an 18-year-old, did he not look like he belonged on the field? Other than the kick out, which was obviously
he was coming on as a sub, and Gressel was starting most of the time. Gressel played a lot more minutes than Vasquez.
Yeah, that's true. And Vasquez missed the last 2-3 months of the season with a hamstring tear.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't have as much of the experience as Gressel has. And I agree that Vasquez has a higher ceiling, but I want to see him get to that ceiling.
Exactly.
And I feel like in order to make that next step, he needs to be playing and starting week in, week out.
Look, for me, from a selfish standpoint, he can't be playing at USL at 18 years old if he's going to make it to Europe and be something on the U.S. men's national team.
I don't think that matters.
You don't?
No, I think it matters about his development.
Right. That's what I think he's going to develop being around those guys and playing in those games and bigger games.
I think he's going to be developed by playing games. He's not going to be playing as many games in the MLS.
I mean, the thing is, he'll have to win the job outright.
Exactly,
He's not going to, like you said, he's not going to get awarded on the ceiling.
Exactly.
But one thing Tim said, I could see him out from what we saw. I could see him out playing Gressel on the right side throughout the preseason, maybe getting a look.
Prove and be a starter, then I want to see him.
Well, which again, it goes back to what I'm saying, which is
I
like,
just want him to play minutes.
Well, you're going to see Gressel playing minutes as a substitution for Villalba all season. Right. I mean, that's the go-to substitution right now. We can all agree on that. The thing that Atlanta United 2 presents is that Vasquez will be playing in some context throughout the season. So it's not a guess of saying Vasquez has a really high ceiling. We don't know where he is right now. He's going to be playing real minutes week in and week out to gauge, okay, Gressel substituted last week. He's really on a down slide, which we saw last year. It was sort of an ebb and flow where he was peaking at times and falling during others. Now Vasquez has a chance to really showcase his ability and where he may be to offset some of those falls that Gressel may be having throughout the season. So
sure. I mean, I want Vasquez to be playing minutes.
Absolutely.
That's what he needs to be doing. That's what I want to see him doing. I hope that's in MLS, but if not, I don't want him,
that's
on the
true.
bench.
If he's not even dressing or anything like that, you need to, I would agree. You have to get him minutes.
I think he makes the 18 every time. I mean, he was making the 18 before he's even proven, right? Well, before he's even...
Yeah, but he spent a lot of time on the bench, though. I don't want him doing that.
But he's... okay. I mean...
I want him to be... Tim, I'm with you. I wanted to see him play, but I don't want him to be on the bench.
I feel like the same conversation can be had about any of those guys that we saw Saturday. I mean... I don't want to see Carlton sit on the bench either. I want him to be getting play time.
Yeah,
I don't want to see
absolutely.
Gosselin on the bench. I want to see him getting play time because in order for those players to reach those ceilings and compete for those positions, they need to be having play time to showcase that and develop that going forward.
Well, let me pose a question for you because I'm a huge Carlton supporter. I back him 100% to be an MLS player. I think he's there now. Is there right now on the bench, is there a 1-for-1 substitution for Miguel Almiron aside from Andrew Carlton?
I think Barco is the backup number 10. And he's certainly not on the bench. I mean, I don't know that there is anybody that can fill that role.
Thing is, at the end of the season, we were all like, oh, Gressel's the guy.
Yeah.
Because of the Montreal game, whenever. And
I think you're right, but probably Barco's that guy.
But I think you almost put Barco there, and then you have to come up with a solution on the left wing.
Or, of course, Oliver Shannon. You could just throw him.
No,
put him anywhere.
Okay, at that point,
you just clone him.
At that point, who goes in at the left wing? Do you push Garza up and bring in Jose Hernandez to the left?
Maybe you put Tito on the left and put Vasquez on the right.
Inverted winger,
or you push
two right-footed wingers.
Why can't you push Garza up and put McCann back? I mean, you can push Garza and put McCann back in the spot which he played the last.
Or you can put Nagbe over there.
Exactly.
If you want.
Oh, that's a great idea.
Yeah,
that's true.
Kevin Kelly in the chat. Just even seeing Yamil's name makes me cry.
Yamil aside, no, we won't be talking about him tonight. So
yes,
Gosselin was amazing.
Yes.
We already established that. I thought his awareness, his control of the midfield, even in a terrible pitch, I think it was fantastic.
When I watched the U20 World Cup last summer.
Who won that World Cup?
The U17 World Cup.
The U17's right.
Who won that World
Cup?
Not the country. The country whose jersey you're wearing is oppressor. The oppressor of the jersey you're wearing. Yes.
But yeah, the U17s. I was so impressed that
Wales didn't make the World Cup either.
Almost did. At that age, I think it's for a center mid to have his role carved out for himself already is so impressive. And he was the player because I watched those matches to watch Andrew Carleton, obviously with all the hype, but
Absolutely.
Carleton's an immensely talented guy, but he's kind of an attacking player. He's a winger. He's maybe a 10. Gosselin is a destroyer in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, he fits right into that role, and he was the player that jumped off the screen to me when I was watching those guys play.
Here.
And it looked the exact same when he came in Nashville. I mean, he didn't look like any drop off, and so I'm really impressed with him.
I'm impressed with how much weight he's put on.
Yeah,
he's
really
bulked. In the past 6 months, he's stout. He's not going to be a pushover. I think, as much as I was talking about Carleton being the MLS ready player, I think it's Gosselin.
I would agree with you, because last season you were talking about Gosselin here and there.
Yeah,
and I was like, I didn't really know anything about him, but then when I saw him,
I saw that 40-yard free kick hit the crossbar in the
Yeah.
U17s in India.
Yeah,
I was like,
oh,
I remember that.
I'm really excited about Gosselin now.
Yeah, because what people failed to realize, everybody was fawning over Carleton during that tournament, and rightfully so.
Sure, he was great.
But who enabled him to do that? There was
Absolutely.
a guy behind him controlling the midfield, allowing Andrew Carleton to run free.
Missed him big time when eliminated against England in the quarterfinals. Gosselin was on a yellow card accumulation and really, really, really missed him. I mean, you could argue he was the catalyst for that side's success.
Yeah, we got eliminated by England, correct? It was
Yeah, because England won it.
Yeah,
It's just like Aaron Ramsey in the Euros. He was Wales's. He got done a yellow card accumulation.
Right. Yeah. You need to do something so obnoxious when that happens in the middle of a tournament like that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So we're talking about young players who are, I think, MLS ready. If not, they are stars in USL. And as much as we like to give you shit about the Oliver Shannon call outs because of your Clemson heritage, I think that he looked very solid.
I agree.
I think he was very sound. I think I enjoyed how much he roamed over the field. It seemed like he was searching out the ball whenever he was not. Whenever he was chasing it down a lot.
Well, he was chasing it down a lot, and he just had a good positional awareness, which that's kind of the first thing I go towards. Is not just you see so much from younger players that are starting to move into the major leagues, getting pigeonholed into just not wanting to fuck up.
Yeah,
and you saw him play with a little bit of mobility and freedom. I mean, he got put into the center back position for LGP, if I'm not mistaken, at that point. And you saw him not just hold a defensive line and kind of control the back line, but he was also moving up to support on the right wing at times to play the ball off, play space, and make some runs for players. And then also just distributing the ball from the back of the field.
Very calmly.
Yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't just, like I said, it was sort of a well-rounded positioning. So he was playing good position. He was making good long passes as well as short passes. I mean, I did see one or two times where he made some quick decisions, and whether that was because of the field, which we were having some discussions with somebody about Barco needing to play it quicker or somebody needing to play the ball quicker. That was the other thing that I noticed from all the players this weekend. A good team knows how to make adjustments based on the conditions. And whenever the field is as wet as it was and the conditions are as messy as they were, you have to make adjustments. You don't want to be playing one-touch balls when the ball is wet and you can't trap the ball and then play it off. And you saw everybody do that from a team perspective, but Oliver Shannon particularly seemed to have an awareness of that positionally as well as just with his movement on the field, which I was really excited to see because, like you said, I'm definitely high on him because of his Clemson roots. We had 2 academy players get signed to Clemson or commit to Clemson this past week. I forget what
Charlie Asensio and James Brighton from the academy signed with Clemson during National Signing Day last Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever it was.
Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, I obviously wanted to see him. I was really excited to see him. I was even more excited to see him come out, play well, and feel like he had the ability to do so without feeling restricted or like he couldn't have that mobility and freedom. And whether that was a result of the score at that point, whenever he came in, I think we were already up 3-1, or it was at least 2-1 at that point, which that lends itself to a lot of freedom to begin with. But yeah, it was great. I really enjoyed it.
Heir apparent to Larry?
That would be my, I mean, he had the same coach, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah, exactly. He does have ties to Larry. They had the same coach at his academy that he played at before he went to play at Clemson, I believe. They had the same coach. I had tweeted that out a couple weeks
Everton
ago.
Academy.
Does anyone think that the Jeff has sort of stepped back, gone deeper in the pitch as he has aged, and maybe his athleticism.
Yeah, because
has
he
gone
was a
down.
number 8.
Like I would
early on
want
in
to
his
see
career, right?
Shannon be more aggressive than Lorenowitz.
Well, I think that comes whenever you're in a position to where and that's what was nice to see, was that even though he was playing on the back line, he was getting up a little farther than I probably would have wanted him to be if it was a 0-0 game or if we were down. But he at least shows the tendency to be able to move forward a little bit if given the chance.
That's what I want to see on the wing.
Right.
I just, I'd prefer to see him on the wing doing
He's
that
also
than
just a
stepping
bigger
back
guy,
into
which lends itself to that as well. Whereas I think he's probably got a little bit of height and size on Lorenowitz.
You think so? I think they very much resemble each other in build.
I don't know what is
They're about this. It seems like they were about the same size.
Talking about bigger guys, do you see some of the Nashville forwards?
Oh yeah, dude.
Jeez, they were like 8 feet tall and like 6 feet wide.
Credit to them. I know we don't want to talk about Nashville, but they came out pressing. They came out playing fast. I mean, they really made us work for it. And we talked about this at the beginning. That could have easily been a 0-0 clunker. And Nashville made sure that it was at least going to be, a fast-paced, high-tempo game by making us work for it a little bit.
Yeah.
So kudos to them.
Yeah, and kudos to their fan base too. I mean, it was a shitty day. We saw, I think, a less turnout than we expected, probably because of the weather. Yeah. But nonetheless, they showed up great. And the crazy thing to me was 2 things. One, we can all hate Orlando together, which was kind of the tie that bound everyone together.
Do we know who made that yet?
I don't, but it was pretty brilliant. The Scottish Rite Children's Healthcare things. Let's hate Orlando together.
If you guys haven't seen that, go follow Jay Riddle. I think he posted that earlier today, if not yesterday. His Children's Healthcare of Atlanta logo with the 2 kids holding hands.
And it's
Nashville SC colors on one of the kids, Atlanta United colors on the other. Let's hate Orlando together.
But just seeing, I mean, we marched in, and then we were heading around to check out their merch or something like that, and we saw their march coming in, and just looking at all their supporters' faces was just, I mean, it was just palpable, the excitement that they had, that they were finally getting this team, and it was just the start of something, and it was just really cool to see that from that perspective. So
much like the images that I've seen of the Red Bulls game, the first Atlanta United game.
That was nuts. That was the one game we had smoke. Shut up, Jay.
Hashtag free smoke.
But we did have that was the one Atlanta United game we had smoke in, was that first game. And I hope, to that same point, the one thing I will say at that Nashville game is they have got to figure out their security situation.
Oh my God.
Because that was just, I mean, it was nothing. I mean, anything could have happened. Anything could have been brought in. And
I was upset because we left the flask at home.
I did the same thing.
Well, they're probably going to check it.
Well, I had a couple of mini bottles that had metal caps on it, and I wasn't going to pound all of it at that point right before I walked in the stadium. I was like, well, I guess I'll just sit them outside. And then we walked in, and it was like, wait, there's nothing.
Wasn't it weird, too, how they said there was no mobile ticketing? And then the day of the game, they were like, well, if your barcode is visible, you're good, i.e. what mobile ticketing is. I was like, as long as they're scanning the barcode, I can take a scan anyways. But
we had a panic attack at the driveway because Raphael, who went with us, didn't have his ticket printed. We had to come inside and print it because we didn't think.
A bunch of people had that happen to them. But
I mean,
we're nitpicking.
To be honest, Kevin, anyone who lets you in a stadium, the security must be shit.
No, seriously though, if anybody knows anybody at the Nashville front office, make sure they get that shit locked down, because the supporters group could have brought anything in with them that would have fit into their pockets, inside of their belt line.
They're gonna need to play in the other stadium, which I heard is going to be where they're playing next week.
It's a good job. Orlando City B is not going to be in the league this year. Otherwise,
God. And then Nashville hopefully will be in the league in 2019 to play against Orlando and come into the league with the same amount of playoff wins, same amount of playoff appearances as Orlando has.
I mean, I guess I will say the difference. It's interesting seeing the difference between Atlanta United and Nashville, in that they are kind of getting their bearings, and it'll be some growing pains. And at least Atlanta United approached it in a different way because they had the front office. And
blank.
but I mean, they had familiarity with the Falcons and other major sporting events and stuff like that. So they'll have to figure it out, and they definitely got a lot to figure out. But at least from the fan base side, it's really exciting.
Yeah, you can definitely sense the excitement there, and everybody was really friendly. And it was kind of like, I'm talking to these people, and I was like, that was me, like 18 months ago, just like buzzing, excited. So it's cool to see, not just the rise of soccer in the South, but also just to see people excited about it, and
absolutely.
And to our credit, we didn't go up there and oh, you have no history, we didn't pull any crap like that, because it's American soccer and there's not a ton of history. I guess that's lost on people, but I think that
cling to whatever you can.
Yeah, I just thought that's such a weird angle from the Orlando fan. But anyways,
especially when you have to go to 3 separate Wikipedia pages to find out the history of Orlando City. The fact that it's
true.
It's okay. So I've had to do this just because if I'm going to talk shit to somebody, I need to know that I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm not
educated about
it. I'm not spouting falsehoods.
Yeah.
So they started as the Austin Aztecs.
Oh.
Austin Aztecs left USL, or anyway, they moved to Orlando City, which has a completely different logo, club crest, and all that stuff. Same colors, roughly. They started. They won a couple championships, I think, or at least one, and they like to tweet out the photo of that trophy. The problem with that is that they didn't turn into Orlando City, the MLS team. They started an ownership group. Maybe it is the same ownership group. Started the MLS. They got the MLS expansion team. And then that franchise, the USL franchise, didn't just convert into an MLS franchise. It moved to Louisville. So Louisville City, if you see, they have the same colors as Orlando.
Which we saw one of those jerseys leaving the game. Yeah.
No way. I had no idea. That's the same.
So when they say you don't have history, you guys don't either. It's almost like it would be like the Milwaukee Brewers claiming a Braves championship in 1996, or
Alabama football claiming multiple national championships.
No, that did happen, Kevin.
or the Browns, the now Browns claiming a Ravens championship, or the Timberwolves don't go around touting any championships that the Lakers have, right? So, or the Braves claiming anyway. It go on and on and on about relocations, and those championships travel with those teams, especially when they're in the league. I mean, Louisville's in USL. They came from Orlando. They're still in USL. That Orlando franchise is something completely different. Yeah.
Well, that's something to talk shit about for sure, because that's
absolutely
pretty much what they're clinging to with the lack of MLS success.
Yeah. And my favorite go-to now, as Noah Byers, I will quote him, and it's obviously a play on Waterboy, is Orlando City fans so ornery. Mama said Orlando City fans so ornery because they got all that history and no playoffs.
They got no playoffs.
And not that much history, but
and I am way more proud of an academy championship of an MLS team rather than claiming some trophy that lives up in Kentucky now. But anyway, I cut you off. I don't know if you remember what you were talking about, but
no, I just thought that was fascinating. I had no idea that was all true.
Yeah.
So not only are they clinging to like a short few years of shitty history, the one thing they've won is not even truly theirs.
And I shit you not, you have to go through like 3 levels of disambiguation on Wikipedia to find out. It's like you go to Aztecs and then you go up there, or you go to Orlando City. Do you mean Orlando City, the former USL club? Okay, you go there and move to Louisville. And anyway, it's pretty fascinating. I think Robert Swick led me to find that stuff, and I love it. I like having that.
Thank you for your investigative reporting, Tim.
Good job.
That's great.
I just love being able to talk shit to those guys, even though it does result in our iTunes reviews going down. But
you guys should go rally the troops and make sure you throw some more 5 stars up there, just to be sure. I mean, we can't really be sure unless we get.
Do you see the news about Romario Williams today?
Oh man.
Oh,
how are we doing this?
I have no clue. I'm getting suspicious that we should probably stop before people start investigating, because it's.
I think they just started the beginning of last year. Just got the whole club.
For people who don't know, for people who don't know, because we haven't really even said what it is. We've been talking for weeks about who the next green card is to fall, as it were. We had Tito.
Mm-hmm. Which came out of the blue. I didn't see that.
Everybody expected Gressel and all that. And then now we have Jamaican international Romario Williams.
Right.
Who's now attained his green card. And
how did they do that?
I have absolutely no idea. I mean, I think it's Jason Longshore, who I'm going to give credit to here, saying we have the best immigration lawyers probably in the country.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
I mean, I think it's
Yeah.
So I've gone through this
Abogado.
process. I tried going through professionally, which was a no-go. And then I got married, which was the easiest way. But I think the amount of money these guys are making, bringing them
Is
into
not
the
enough.
no, it's actually, a decent amount to be able to come into the country and say, okay, you're going to contribute. So they could have started. I think they started this process last year, like when the squad was put together. They're like, okay, we want to try and get everybody who wants to, or they could have said, if you come to us, we're going to put you through a green card process. And then they would have had to have signed up to be able to go through that. So if it's been a year, then I don't think the lawyers are that great.
Ooh, Jay has a good point. LGP. Doug Robertson reported that 2 more green cards
LGP
expected.
and Martinez.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it probably started last year. There's no way that you're going to get a green card in a few months through.
This is not really
professional
precedented, is it? I mean, wasn't a
I don't
huge
follow
follower of
other
MLS
clubs. Yeah, I was going to say I don't
us.
follow other clubs.
But I mean, international spots are like no problem for us because we could, you're with us for a year and we get green cards. What's interesting to me when Williams got one is I wonder if that's why they loaned him out last year, because he's a guy, when you loan out like a 22, 23-year-old to USL, my thought is he's not quite up to snuff. But it turns out he's a legitimate number 9 in the MLS. So it makes me wonder, maybe they kind of knew he's going to get the green card in a year, ship him off to Charleston so he can get PT.
Because, I mean, relatively speaking, with what Atlanta United are working with, it's not that expensive for him. It's probably like a couple of grand.
Mm-hmm.
It's a drop in the bucket. Might as well just give everyone a go.
Mm-hmm.
So this is interesting. So I don't know how. Obviously, this isn't as up to date as it should be in the MLS international slots wiki, but right now we have total of 7 slots allotted because we traded one of them away to LAFC for, I think, the rights to Oliver Shannon. What ended up being Oliver Shannon, is that right?
It ended,
the second up.
It was a pick.
It was either him or Gordon Wild.
Mm-hmm.
Worth it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's interesting though, no, I completely agree. What's interesting here though is the list of players that are taking up international slots. Obviously, Almiron, Barco, Escobar, Gressel, Hernandez, Martinez, Gonzalez Perez, and then this has Romario Williams, so knock that off. So we're -2 right now. But 2 of the guys that show up on this list that I was not expecting, maybe Gordon Wild.
Yeah.
Just because he is German.
Well, I don't think... Sorry, you go ahead and...
but Gallagher's on there too.
Yeah. Well, isn't he Irish?
I guess I didn't realize that.
Mm-hmm.
No, he went to Notre Dame. He played for the Irish. Damn.
No, but... Oh, maybe we should tell Atlanta United that.
They have the wrong Irish. That's not a country.
So I think those 2 guys will go to the USL because USL has 7 international spots, and then they won't be taking up our senior roster international spots.
And if they look good, that's probably a green card before next season.
Well, they're probably in the process of getting a green card right now.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It really is probably unprecedented here.
Which makes you think, like, when we traded those international spots, we were like, okay,
sure. Who cares?
How about, LA, we'll give you an international spot.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great deal.
Yeah, exactly.
And we just got the heir apparent to Jeff Lorenowitz.
Yeah.
For something that really doesn't even matter.
We did.
Have we had the Oliver Shannon rant?
I've put it in there. I'm happy with it. I'll let it lie. I mean, it'll trickle in throughout the season, I'm sure. We're getting short on time here.
Brittany Arnold's gone. Any parting remarks about that?
Oh yeah. Does anyone know what happened? Is it just she got another opportunity, or
I'm gonna wildly speculate because I haven't checked to see, but my speculation as soon as it came out was that she's gonna go work on the media team for Miami's MLS team.
Oh,
just because she's so deeply ingrained in Miami. If she wasn't tweeting about Atlanta, she was tweeting about Miami. So I may be wrong. Anyway,
Orlando ain't the South banner is now priceless, as Jay says.
It is.
That's right. It is. Yeah. So does anyone want to see Bobby Belswell take Brittany Arnold's spot?
Yes, if it allows him to keep tweeting and being associated with this club, absolutely.
He's got the same troll abilities as Darren Eales, I think.
Dan, or not Dan, Tim, I'm gonna let you do your closing rant. We're getting close on time here. USSF president announced Saturday. As well.
God, I think I put all of it in anyway. I see you shaking your head. It's ridiculous.
I'm getting angry. Yeah.
It's very much.
Do you guys really want to talk about this? I'm gonna get really pissed off.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I think
fucking hell. Yeah.
It's obvious. Obviously this doesn't have anything to do with the U.S. presidential election, but it seems like in a way, kind of a reaction to going with the
Status quo,
the establishment candidate, because you don't want to risk going with somebody else. But it's not even that. It's insiders. The players voting as a block and voting for Kathy Carter to start with and seeing that she's not going to win. And then they're like, okay, we're going to switch our vote to this Goldman Sachs guy who doesn't know a fucking thing about soccer, who played as the number 2 to Sunil Gulati, who ran this program pretty much into the ground, if not just laterally from whenever he got there. It's insane to me. I mean, the guy should have a plan. He should be able to hit the ground running as soon as he comes in. And his first remark about what are you going to fix first is we're going to have to get in there and take a look.
Yeah.
We're going to have to take a look.
Yeah, I have no idea what's broken, right? Yeah.
What's broken
Right.
is these
Like, you can't tell.
these amazingly athletic and talented impoverished children, disenfranchised youth can't afford to go play soccer. They can't afford to go play a game. These coaches can't afford the licenses. These referees can't afford the licenses just to keep the lights on in a stadium or with a regulation size field. The costs that they purport of these fields and of keeping the lights on and everything are absolutely absurd.
And I tend to think that maybe the president position is symbolic in some ways, but it does indicate that you missed the World Cup. It's embarrassing. I mean, at the easiest region to qualify from in the world, CONCACAF, and for a country like the U.S. to miss is catastrophic. And we've been talking about forever how the federation and we're making the same mistakes over and over and over again. And my hope is that an embarrassment like that would wake the federation up, and signs indicate that it hasn't.
They just continue on the same trend.
But I would hope that since they're hiring this GM position now to have someone in charge of the soccer side of things, that maybe we see a better footballing mind in that position as well. But certainly, like, what it symbolizes is that no one, it's just down the same road again. And the more I learned about the way the election worked and, the rounds of voting and then, talk about the players.
Dude, did you
frustrating.
Did you not watch it or listen into it at all?
I was following it. We were actually on the road.
Oh, it was laughable. They couldn't even get the voting figured out.
Wow.
The first
No
round
way.
of voting, they had to do it twice because they couldn't get the votes to submit and they couldn't get the votes that they wanted, it seemed like.
Hey.
So they had to redo
It was
it.
probably the Russians.
No. The mistake in the first part was holding an election in Florida and expecting it to go properly.
Right. Hanging chads.
Yeah. Per my assertion earlier, I don't like to be wrong about stuff and spew it. Kelly is telling me that they didn't vote for Kelly Carter or Kathy Carter. Sorry, saying Kelly Carter. They didn't vote for Kathy Carter. I was under the assumption for some reason that the first vote they did was for her, and then they got their vote switched. But I guess they voted for Carlos Cordero all the way
it
through.
was Cordero, and she was in second by a thin margin. I mean, it was like a 1% difference.
No, I'm talking about the block of players.
Sorry.
What disappointed me was that I was kind of hoping, I wasn't surprised in a quote unquote establishment candidate won, but it disappointed me to see those two so far ahead of Martino and Winalda, and just those guys never had a chance.
No,
for all the talk, and personally, I was a big fan of Kyle Martino, but for all the talk leading in, those guys never had a shot really. I mean, they were nowhere close. And
was there a more logical choice and just a more no nonsense, but also no? Kyle Martino seemed like the most logical and the most methodical and planned out. I think he would have had a plan moving forward.
Well, he released a plan. I mean, He was like one of the only ones that actually released a plan. To me, he was, and again, I hope maybe we'll see him involved in the GM role going forward. He was kind of the right ideas that shares the ideas that Winalda had, but he seemed to have an understanding of how to get it done, how to kind of play the political game a little bit from like a diplomatic standpoint. And I thought, so he is someone that could maybe bridge the gap between, the kind of establishment wing, we do really sound like we're talking about the presidential election.
I mean, we've been forced to.
Exactly.
So can I ask a question? And to be honest, I have not followed this because it doesn't interest me in the slightest.
Just 1 foot into this country
Love
at
it.
all times. Just
Well,
You like that? You like that
line.
green card, Dan? I don't know.
Yeah.
We can't
Just
vote for it
towing,
ourselves.
just come in here and just
It's
start
like
making
Tim was saying,
babies,
it's
and
like a closed door policy.
that's it. It's
Yeah.
you're a part of it when it benefits you.
So educate me, right? And it might piss you off a little bit, but why is it now a problem? Like in the last 4 years, because we didn't qualify for this World Cup. We've qualified for all the other World Cups. So why is the system so broken now?
It was,
Right.
It was
When
broken
it
in
has
2006.
worked.
I think it's
when
just
it's worked.
coincidence that that was a disaster that forced people to talk about the problems that have existed in the system for so long. And I think some people made the mistake. I think you hit the nail on the head there, Dan. Like some people made the mistake of saying, "Oh, we're on a downward trajectory. You know, we're not going to qualify for World Cups now," things like that. But it was more such a disaster that forced people to evaluate things they didn't want to evaluate. And then
Right.
it turned out it didn't matter because, you know, put someone in charge that's more of the same. So I don't think it was specifically missing the World Cup indicating the downfall of U.S. soccer from what we've seen, but it was just
Right.
such a disaster that it just forced the hand of everybody to evaluate all the problems that get you to this point in the first place.
But from an outsider perspective, it looked like the trajectory was going
Fuck,
up
Dan, come on.
from the previous World Cups.
And it might still be. I mean, you look at the success of the youth national teams, there was a big hole in talent from like the 90s to like the 94s in terms of the guys born in those years. So you're
Right.
looking at this cycle, you had like, there was, you know, Pulisic, Yedlin, young guys like that. And then there was a gap all the way up to like Dempsey, Bradley, you know, like older guys. So I think the trajectory is upwards, Dan, but I think the ceiling for soccer in the US should be so high.
So it's not really the direction we're going, it's the speed at which we're trying to get there to.
It's that, and I think it's just the formula. I mean,
Well, I think the formula is the big. I mean,
yeah.
I'm kind of
Because
new
it
to
could be
this too.
exponentially faster.
So Dan, I feel like I'm somewhere in the middle between you and Tim here, where like I'm not quite as removed, but I'm not quite as involved either. And it seems like, from my perspective, it just seems like the trajectory aspect of it that we've just been sort of, the best way I can think of it is almost in college football terms, where like we've had these really great recruiting classes that we've been able to kind of coast by on our coaching staff. Yeah, exactly. We've been kind of Mark Richting our U.S. national
We
team.
need to Kirby Smart it.
Exactly.
Just
And
carries by it.
it's just not that development
Good save,
and what's
Tim.
being taken and what's taken place. And then even just from the one time I've actually been involved or paid attention was during that vote, and then hearing Cordero's response to it was 100% from a business perspective, not
Right.
not talking about academies or player developments. It was him quite literally saying, "I'm a businessman and we need to find ways to make money and get money into the organization. And that starts with World Cup 2026 and making sure that we get World Cup 2026. And Tim had a great point. It's like, well, then we would automatically qualify at least.
Yeah.
Got to get the bid. Yeah, that's true. That would be nice.
Whereas building academies is probably actually a cheaper
Hey,
option.
Don't get me wrong. I'm all for money coming in. If
Oh.
if that means that the barrier to entry for a lot of these kids and a lot of these coaches and referees, I mean, to fast track themselves to being involved in these academies or leagues, traveling leagues, or what is it, ODP and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just so expensive.
Well, and I don't even mind the idea of having a businessman at the head of the federation, but and we don't see, the thing is, we don't even really know. And this, I'm going back to Kyle Martino. He stressed transparency. We don't even really know. I mean, who is making it so you can't change anything? Who's inflexible? Who is saying, no, the club system isn't broken, this is the way to find talent? I don't know if it's necessarily the president. It might not be Cordero because he doesn't know too much about the sport anyway.
No,
but I don't have an issue with a diplomatic person that can delegate at the top, that knows how to run a business.
Right.
But this business is run like shit.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean,
I don't even think we need transparency. We just need, the success comes from the youth.
Mhm.
So if you're not developing that youth, you're not going to be successful, which I think is the main crux of why we wanted Martino in there, and
right,
because he will develop.
And
that.
it's all about, you know, if you want to find the best soccer players, you have to go find them. You can't just expect them to play on a club, you know. And I know there are scholarships, things like that, but there are players that are in areas where they can't even get somewhere,
right?
And you'll see questions to, you know, Georgia Soccer and all the, you know, the state associations, like, you know, my kid is, you know, who knows if they're telling the truth about the kid being a good player, but my kid lives in, you know, Brazelton, Georgia,
right?
And there's not a club within an hour and a half. What do we do? They're like, oh, well, you can play ODP, and it's that's not how it works. Someone has to go find that person at a young age and then go and mold them, because you're competing against the rest of the world, and that's how the rest of the world does it, whether you like it or not.
So I'm reading a book called Leading by Sir Alex Ferguson. You should read it. And he talks about when he got to Manchester United, they had 2 scouts. And he was like, this is crazy. You need a lot more scouts than this. And then he like beefed it up to at least 16 scouts, because they were losing kids in Manchester, like right in their backyard. So in order for him to put down those
kids like Alexis Sanchez and Marwan Fellaini and Lukaku, like they almost missed out on Lukaku.
Well, that wasn't Alex Ferguson. So
he's trolling Dan.
I know.
No, I know.
Okay. Well, of course you knew.
Oh, yeah. Well, they almost missed out on Di Maria. How's that? Is that better?
Well, yeah, he was not good because he didn't integrate. But I mean, to be said, I mean, you could go watch, what is it, 92, the
Class of 92.
Class of 92.
Yeah. Good documentary.
But the point being, he put faith in scouting and he put faith in youth. And I think Klopp has done that as well, and that's where the success is.
Well, I don't think right now that we have a lot of talent in the youth academy.
Exactly,
we have a lot of talent. It's almost like it's getting to a certain point, it's not being cultivated.
Right.
So I do have. We can get off the subject in a second, because I know we are
way over time. Yeah.
We're way over time. CK Lopez saying the formula is culture. I have to choose a soccer ball over a basketball when I'm 4 years old. 10 to 14 is too late to play at an international standard. Soccer in the Streets is combating this directly. That is true. Soccer in the Streets, a great organization in Atlanta, helping the disenfranchised youth to find that avenue to play soccer. And he said, I can't choose the game if the costs are too high. I'm a perfect example of that. My mom waited tables after work just so that I could play select and travel soccer. And I can imagine that, CK, unfortunately, your story's probably not unique, which sucks. And
well, look at Clint Dempsey. I mean, one of the few who actually made it. It was having, you know, his parents drive him an hour to training and things like that. He was in small town Texas. Like it's tough to get noticed if you don't have the resources or the parents that know where to play and where the best places are. It's really tough.
I think the U20s are broken, and that can be seen by losing Nevin Subotic. But we'll go on.
I can't get over that.
From Utah, right?
I didn't even know he was American.
No, he's Serbian. His parents were refugees that came over to Utah whenever he was in
no, but I didn't realize that he was even like eligible to play for the US.
You're talking about a world-class center back that could have played for the US men's national team if he wasn't turned off by the U20s coach. If that didn't think that he.
But and I know we're going over. I'm talking about this too much, but the theme with Subotic, with Jonathan Gonzalez, with all these guys, is that the U.S. didn't really go after them. I mean, with Gonzalez, obviously you had him, but then you hear these quotes after losing him, and it's like, oh, you know, we kind of knew we were never going to get him. You know, he identifies, you know, with the Mexican culture, having gone down there and blah, blah, blah. But that's not what you do. Like, you go find your players and you fight for them. And we're losing these very talented players without even a fight. And then just imagine the players that we're not even discovering in the first place.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So Carolina Challenge Cup coming up, starts this Saturday. 3 games in span of 7 days. This Saturday against Columbus Crew. Next
We're
Wednesday.
out for revenge.
Are we going to talk predictions?
Yeah, for sure. Next Wednesday, Minnesota United and United.
Whoa,
United. Follow United. Next Wednesday against Minnesota United, and then next Saturday against Charleston Battery. Score predictions for. Let's just do Columbus Crew because we'll be back before Minnesota United. And yeah, Dan.
Probably 2-1.
I'll go
us.
To us, yeah.
I'll go 3-1 us.
3-1-2.
I think it's 2-2, and I
3-1-2, like 3-12.
I think that's the Bruce Arena formation for the men's national team. 3-1, comma TOO was what I was trying to say.
Matthew Weinecker with the call out infinity to 0. I like it. I think 2-2, and I think Jossie Zardes just puts a couple in to rub it in my face. Yeah, me
from right back.
Rob Ozray and I are gonna have egg all over our face. The amount of shit that we talk about Jossie Zardes. I think it will be a 2-2 game. I think it'll be competitive. I think it'll be fun to watch.
Let us know you guys' score predictions. Let them come through the chat in the next few minutes as we're kind of wrapping this thing up. So we teased it earlier for Pam money, podcast allocation money. If you'd like to allocate some money to the show, we pride ourselves on not doing adverts, but as we've teased for the past month, we have finally got the prototypes for our hat designs. We have 4 different designs on, I think, what was our total count? 12 different variations of hats.
So we have 12 different products that are up in the store. So we have 3 different logo combinations. We have the
Should I go get? I'll go hold them up in front of the camera. You talk through it, Tim, and I'll go hold them up.
We have the block logo in the front, which you can find on a flat bill, a dad hat, or a beanie, or a flex fit. And then we have the full blown Home Before Dark logo on all 3 of those. They're flex fit, dad hats, flat bills.
Boom. Done.
And then same with Dan's plastic design.
Plastic.
Yeah, so we have the plastic design as well on a flex fit, a flat bill, and a snapback. And they all come in multiple colors. So if you guys, anyway, we're not.
The whole point of this is not for us to make money. Basically, we want to get. I'm
trying to retire, so
full disclosure, we want to make more things and do more things. Enamel pins, scarves, things like that. Unfortunately, those things make us pay for them in advance, and we don't have hundreds of dollars of income to do so. So any proceeds from these sorts of purchases will directly go into future purchases so that you guys can get something to kind of help support the show, and hopefully you guys like it. We love the hell out of you guys. You can get all of those at gethomebeforedark.com, and there's a store link, and they are already live as of tonight.
Yeah, gethomebeforedark.com
nice.
/shop, and you can find those, except PayPal, which will be credit card too. So, and then Kelly, there's a dog, Pirlo. He's been here the entire
Ryan
time.
Skeet,
Pirlo.
best last name. You missed the Oliver Shannon talk. It was earlier. I talked about it, and I will continue to do so all season as he shows up and impresses me each and every time he steps onto the pitch. So
very objective analysis.
Yeah. Thanks for checking us out, guys. You can find all of us online. Josh, you got the floor, man. All of the plugs.
Yeah.
Where can they find
you?
You guys
plug it up?
When are you guys recording again?
Actually, I won't be able to make it. I won't be there this week, but we will be recording on Thursday night. So a little review of the weekend in Nashville, and we'll be previewing Charleston as well. So should be 9:30 Thursday night. You can find me on Twitter at JoshB914. And someone told me, I forget who it was, someone said I got good at Twitter in the last few months recently. So I was very happy with myself.
You, me both.
And somebody got good.
I can't figure this stuff out.
Not only did you get good at Twitter, but somebody got better than you and got pictures of you and DM'd them to us from this past weekend.
From the net. Was it Kelly? Oh, fuck.
There's multiple. We may
how many?
We may or may not hold them hostage and threaten to retrieve.
When did you take these photos?
We'll should we set a bar for the number of hats sold, and we will publicly tweet these?
That's great. Yeah, great idea.
You can
Thanks for coming, Josh.
Over under 25 hats sold in the next week. We will tweet out those pictures.
I'm with that.
And throw in a couple iTunes reviews too. Yep. Why not? Hell, we might even just tweet them out for the fun of it. So
I can't believe
Josh, Thanks, man. You've been an awesome guest.
Thank you, guys.
really
Hope to be
enjoyed
back
having
again
you.
soon.
First guest has drank hard liquor with us, so we can't
You
complain.
can always
there,
count on
so.
me for that.
Yeah, no,
Always.
we'll
It was
definitely
a
have to have
pleasure.
you back on.
Yeah.
I could probably go. We probably go like 2 hours talking about U.S. men's national team stuff. So
So you can find the rest of us on Twitter
Sure, right.
too. Oh wait, and Mouse of the South. What's the handle? MOTS
podcast on Twitter. Yeah.
Yep. Go check those guys out whenever you're not listening to us.
they're
And-
on Google Play Music now. So
Oh, nice.
you can find us everywhere.
About time. You know, we've been here for a while, but
That's right.
love you, Eric.
Jay figured it out somehow. It was a whole to do, and so.
All right, Tim, where can they find you at?
You can just find me at Tim Herb at my name.
And Dan.
You can find me at DNJMS and come fuck wits Dan James.
You can find me as well at The Architect. That's at _ARC. Number 1 TECT. Collectively at Home Before Dark. That's before spelled B and the number 4. Go check out gethomebeforedark.com if you want to get a hat.
Website? We never pushed the website.
Well, now we actually have shit on there aside from just our RSS feed, which we'll put this out in audio format, which most of you may have found us on. If you did,
Can I get a hat
you
from
can
our
get
website?
you can get up to 12 different kinds of hats.
Shut
And then there's
the
a
front
subset of those with different colors. So don't be afraid. If you like the style, click on it. You can customize the colors, even if it's not the one that's
Can I
displayed
get
that
a
you
red
like.
hat?
Yeah, man.
Holy shit.
It's baller. Go check that out and leave us a review on iTunes if you want to hear it read on the show. We love the hell out of you guys. We'll be back next week with an all-new guest in the chair. As promised, we will have a different guest rotating out until the start
Should we
of the
say
new
who
season.
it is or tease it?
Go for it.
We got AJ from Atlanta United Fan TV
Oh,
coming into the
nice.
studio. Join us.
Nice.
Next
Yeah.
Monday.
So we'll step up our stream game hopefully before then.
I'll try.
Nah, it's
He's
going to
gonna-
be the same. Thanks for checking us out, guys. We love the hell out of you. We'll see you next week. As always, be home before dark.